Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Tech Unlocked podcast, the podcast where we unlock the latest tech news, leaks, and rumors, in particular in the world of Apple. I'm one of your hosts, Benji from BenObi Tech, who looks like a hot potato today because I got sunburnt, but I'm doing as normal. And then we've got Taylor from Mr. Smartwatch here, my co-host, and today we have a special guest with us today. We have Jeff from Jefe Reviews. So how is everyone doing? How's your days been?
Good, man.
Man, day by day, as I like to say, but it's been going pretty good. I got 3-4 videos in the last few days, so today I got 2 videos up. So everything's going pretty smooth.
On the grind.
Yeah,
sweet.
Exactly.
So, in today's episode, ladies and gents, this is going to be a little bit shorter from usual mainly because of poor planning, but we're going to talk a little bit about WWDC, which has been a pretty big event. Personally, I didn't think it was this huge, amazing thing that I was hoping it was going to be. I was kind of underwhelmed with some of the updates, and we're going to go through and kind of recap for you guys a little bit about what happened. And then we've got a couple questions for Jeff that we're going to ask him about his channel and about what he thinks about the future, I guess, with technology and stuff like that. So Taylor, do you want to kind of give us a quick rundown on Dub and what went down?
So, I mean, there was a lot of stuff, a lot of OS, we got a lot of great stuff on iOS, iPadOS, Mac OS, I'm not really sure. I don't know about you guys, if you guys saw any videos. WatchOS honestly blew my mind. You guys know that I'm a watch person. So, WatchOS blew my mind. And the new MacBooks that came out, M2, was, I honestly think it was a pretty decent event. Yeah, I kind of expected more, but I mean, that just lets us get hyped for what's going to be coming at the next event, and whatever comes before then.
Yeah, personally, I really like. I think out of all the releases, in the end, my favorite was iOS. I think there's been a lot of really good updates. iPadOS was a little bit underwhelming, simply because most of the updates that they came out with, they've got things like now actual full monitor support, so it's no longer mirroring your screen, but it's it's a second display in the end. That is cool, and also the fact that you've got things like what do they call it? Task Manager.
Yeah.
No, whatever that new feature is called, which basically makes using multiple windows better, and you can also resize the windows. But all of these new features, like the new big features, are exclusive to the M1 iPads, which is kind of sad because now my iPad's basically irrelevant. So yeah, I don't know. Jeff, we know you haven't seen the event or anything, but were you able to hear a couple of changes that came to iPadOS? And what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I know one of the biggest gripes that I kept hearing was that we're still not getting Final Cut on the M1 iPads. That was a big gripe for a few people, which I kind of get. I use LumaFusion for all my editing, so I can kind of understand. I'd like to take it to the next level without having to buy a whole MacBook or a Mac Mini or something. But aside from that, I mean, I didn't hear too much of anything changing, aside from what you had mentioned with the external monitor support, which I do want to give a try. I have a cable set up to my monitor from my iPad Pro, so I'm like, if I can actually set that up as a second, that'd be kind of dope, to see kind of how that works and stuff. But aside from that, I didn't hear anything that really blew me away when it came to that. Aside from that, I'm in DM conversations with other creators and stuff, or in group chats, and a lot of them have been excited about the beta for iOS 16. That there have been some really good usability upgrades done there. Some of them came across a couple little bugs, but nothing too wild. So I'm excited to see it. I don't run any beta on any of my stuff, so I just kind of wait for stuff to kind of come out. But then I also missed what happened with what do you call it, for the Apple Watch. So I have to look into what that is. If you have a rundown on that on your channel, I'll be looking forward to that, because I want to see kind of what's going on with that. I have a Series 6. I've been using it for the longest time, so I'm looking forward to seeing kind of where that's headed. But hopefully, I won't keep having a good battery with one update, bad battery with another update. Like, I'm sick of the back and forth with the battery on that watch.
That's basically been my I got a Series 7 back in I think December, and like when I first got it, the battery life was amazing. Like I used to end the day with 50% or more, and then like some updates it would just like get to 10% by the end of the day. I'm like,
it's like toast. You're like, what happened?
Last week it lasted, and I even used it more, and it was 50%. So I mean, I'm running the beta on my watch right now, and so far so good. So hopefully it's pretty decent.
Ben,
something
you were running everything.
I am running everything.
Oh, okay.
Apart from macOS. So I actually said, and I even made 2 videos saying, do not download iOS 16 and do not download iPadOS 16. And what do? I go and download iPadOS 16 and iOS 16. But anyway.
Explain to me why.
So, and I mean, I'm completely disappointed with iPadOS. Anyway, so another thing that they said about iPadOS is that they were going to bring desktop class apps to iPadOS. And as soon as they said this, I was like, oh, that means Final Cut Pro. But no, it just means like it's a new API for like whatever. Maybe someday we'll get Final Cut. I think that'd be cool. I think a lot of people would. I think that will make me use my iPad a lot more than what I'm using it now, because I can just go edit on the go. I don't have to carry my laptop everywhere. That would honestly be amazing. Yeah, exactly.
One can handle it, so it's like,
yeah.
What are we doing?
It doesn't. It's literally just they probably are just too lazy to make it work with a touch interface. That's probably it. And they're just like, nah, we'll just keep it for the Mac only. And also, probably if they did have Final Cut Pro on the iPad, there would be less people buying a Mac. I don't know if that will be accurate, but a lot of people buy a Mac just for Final Cut Pro. But then there's people that buy an iPad for other things, and they wish it had Final Cut Pro, or else they wouldn't be buying the Mac. So, but yeah, I think going through some of the other updates, I think macOS was kind of not amazing. Apart from there was a feature where you can now use your iPhone as a webcam. That's pretty cool. I thought that was pretty. Taylor, you're gonna like that because you use your phone as a webcam all the time.
Yep. Yeah, I'm actually using it right now, and honestly, I just feel like it's a really good thing to use for, especially if you're on the go, having that and not having to carry around another webcam is just awesome. A lot of people do say, oh, you should just use your MacBook camera, and I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm not using potato cam, as a lot of people call it.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Also,
the phones look good too. The selfie cams on most of the phones. I don't know what phone you have, but I think pretty much everything past like an iPhone 10, the selfie video is above average. Like it's better than a standard webcam. So
it's super good. And I think that this specific feature works with the rear cameras because it uses pretty much all iPhones now have 2 camera lenses. They've got the ultra wide and the normal angle one. They actually have center stage now built into the thing, so you don't even need to have like the studio display to use center stage. You can just use your iPhone. And there's even another feature that they showed with that, which basically like you can have like my camera can be in the position that it is right now. And then the iPhone, the ultra wide camera is able to kind of see the table or the desk in front of you. I have no idea how that works. It's super whack, but it works and it looks pretty cool. I'll have to test it out to see if it really does work. But
I saw some screenshots of that and I didn't know what was happening. And I'm like, wait, I was like, is this a top down angle? Like what's going on here? So I need to watch an explanation on that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how it works. I just know that it's supposed to work.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's something that I'll have to test if I feel brave enough to install a beta software on my work computer.
Yeah, I hear you on that one, man. That's the only reason I don't do it, or I actually delay updates on like my iPad Pro quite a bit because of how many times it's messed things up with LumaFusion, where LumaFusion didn't get updated correctly, so things would happen really funky afterwards. So normally I'll wait, and I'm like, let me wait and see if anything changes. So I usually wait a couple weeks before I do the update, and then I'm usually okay. But yeah, it's one of those things where I'm always kind of like, let me hold off because it's happened too many times. So too many
Yeah.
times with the iPad Pros, and even with this one, with the M1, it's happened. So I'm like, so I heard there's a new iOS coming out. I'm like, I'm gonna wait a little bit. I'm gonna see what other guys on LumaFusion are saying in the group chats, and if they're seeing issues, then I know I'm smart at waiting. So because I'm patient about it. It's not gonna make a huge difference as long as I can edit and not have any problems. That's all I'm looking for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, there's always a risk involved when running beta software, especially if it's on a device that you rely on for work.
Yeah.
Like for example, me with my MacBook, like if my MacBook doesn't work, I can't work. That's the
Right.
problem. So because I need Final Cut Pro and stuff like that. But I mean, if it did happen to my phone, then that'll be kind of okay-ish. And then if it's my iPad, I don't exactly rely 100% on my iPad. So, yeah, for those who are thinking of installing the betas, think about it before you actually do it.
Yeah.
But anything else? I guess WatchOS. One of my favorite features on WatchOS 9 is the improved sleep tracking now, where it actually is useful. Because before it literally just showed you like when you were asleep, and maybe like your breathing, your blood oxygen if you have the Series 6 or Series 7, and that was about it. Because I've actually started using sleep tracking on my Apple Watch quite a lot recently, and this new feature that's been introduced makes me want to use it even more, which I think is really cool. And then of course you've got some new watch faces on it. Some of them are pretty cool.
I gotta
And
tell you, I
also,
really like the watch faces. I really do.
yeah. Also, another feature that not many people have been talking about, is like there's been some changes in the UI that I've noticed. Like the notifications look a little bit different and stuff. I might have to make a video about it at some point, or maybe you can do that, Taylor, if you feel brave enough to download the beta. It honestly looks super nice. And also, like now when your watch is awake and you receive a notification, it no longer covers the whole screen. It just shows you on the very top a little bit the notification. You can tap on it and it opens up. So I like how they've improved notifications on there. And then I guess iOS, yes, we've talked a little bit about it. New wallpapers is mainly like the biggest feature, I think. The customizable lock screen. Like I love my lock screen now. I put the weather thing, so then it shows the current weather outside.
Nice.
It's something that I've always wanted.
Yeah.
It's super nice. And I think a lot of people are really going to be creative with these as well. Like since you can use portrait mode photos and like honestly, it's sick.
How you can change everything. I even tweeted out, Benny, I don't know if you saw it, but I even tweeted out, I think iOS is the new Android in a way. Like, man.
Oh yeah. When I saw them introduce this feature, I was like, "This literally looks like my Galaxy S10 Plus that I used up until recently."
Like, yeah.
The lock screen. I mean, I think it does function a little bit better than Android, but I could be wrong. I mean, I haven't tried many different Android OEMs. Like I've tried OnePlus, Samsung, and Google. But like it's as iOS's one looks pretty good. It looks very Androidy though, if that's a word. I don't know if you've been able to see. I'm not sure if you've been able to see much of like some updates that are coming to iOS, Jeff.
No. I meant to I'm gonna have to watch the recap of WWDC just to kind of get an idea of what went down. It happened to land at the exact same time that I had a bunch of meetings. So we usually have morning meetings for work, so there was just no way.
Right, yeah.
Usually I would try to like put it on a side screen and kind of not be like, but it was one of those things where it wasn't a meeting where I could half pay attention. It was one of those where like I had to actively be presenting. So it was like, yeah, it just wasn't going to happen. But no, I do want to check it out just to kind of see what the new changes are. Being that I still use an iPhone, I'm still split. I still have still run dual phones. So
Yeah.
at any moment I could be either, tweeting on an Android or tweeting from an iPhone. But it's something I want to check out to see what those changes are going to look like and how well it's going to work for us. But I'm looking forward to seeing what it is, seeing what those changes are, and if it's actually going to make my life easier or more difficult. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
I do want to touch on WatchOS and the new medications thing that they announced.
That's the thing as well.
Yeah,
Medication tracking.
I really think that it's going to help a lot of people, including myself, honestly, because sometimes it's like a busy morning, you wake up late, and then you forget to take your medication. So make sure that people take them on time and track that kind of thing is really awesome.
Yeah, I've like, if you see my alarm app, it's just insane because it's like I have the wake up alarms, I have the go to sleep alarms, and then I also have basically I've set up alarms for medications so that I don't forget.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I try to set it like at the same time as when I wake up or within half an hour of when I wake up, I won't remember because I'll still be in a brain fog. So I usually have to set it for like a good hour and a half after, and then it'll ping me like an alarm will go off and says, basically time to take your meds in the morning. I'll go do that. So if there's a new version of that coming where I don't have to put it in my alarm as like separate alarms, then that helps.
For sure.
But yeah, no, it's just one of those things where it's not going to affect a ton of the population who don't take meds, right? Which is fine. But for the ones that do, if it could help keep track of that easier, then I'm all for it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I can definitely see a lot of people that do take meds. This is really going to help them keep track of even. I think I'm even thinking of people who have like memory problems that they can't remember that they've taken certain things, and just having the reminders on their watch or on their phone, just telling them you need to take your meds, or maybe just go back to make sure that they did take their meds. So I think
even
it's
a confirmation, cool. Like it tells you to pings you to do it, and then after you take it, you confirm like, yes, I took it. Like even for me, that'd be helpful. Like it's the reason why I'm like an old timer where I use one of those things that holds your pills with all the time, so that I'm like, did I take it? I'll go back to the thing and see, okay, yeah, I did take it, Thursday morning's pills. Okay, I'm good. Because otherwise I'll completely space. And I'm like, did I take it this morning? And I will not remember.
I've taken double dosages all the time. Like sometimes
you have to be careful with that stuff, man. It's
exactly. Thank God, nothing's happened, but like sometimes it's just like, oh well, there's just some side effects that could happen, and you never know.
No, for sure, man. I know for me, it's taking blood pressure medication. If I double up on a blood pressure med, it's not good. I'll tell you right now, it is not a good scenario. So,
no.
So I'll risk not taking it versus double, basically, is when it happens. So
yeah. This is definitely gonna change some lives and help make life a bit easier for some people, I guess.
Yeah.
Another thing, talking about like health and fitness, Apple also announced that now you'll be able to use your iPhone for activity tracking. So if you do not have an Apple Watch, you can still track like how much distance you walk, how many steps you take, and things like that. Of course, you'll have to have your phone on you to track all of those things. But I guess this opens up to more people being able to I guess better their health by using iOS and Apple devices. Because I think you could already kind of do this with some third-party apps, but I'm sure Apple's is going to be a little bit more accurate just because they have like full access to all of the sensors within the iPhone, as opposed to some other like some developers and stuff like that make different apps. But
I'm kind of surprised they weren't doing that already, to be completely honest.
Yeah. I was gonna say that should have been something from the start, like.
Something I don't fully get with this though is like you only have the move ring, like there's no like. Of course, I understand the stand ring not being there, but maybe the exercise ring could. But I mean, it's still better than nothing. Like at least
probably because it can't track biometrics. But I think if you tell it, if you say, "Hey, I'm going to start a workout right now. And even though it can't track your heart and stuff, you're telling it. And if it can count your steps, it might know, hey, this person's going for a long walk, or maybe they're going on a jog or something, that it could still measure the fact you're telling it, hey, right now from this point, I'm going to work out until blank this point, I'm going to work out. So that's something that could work, could work well if they decided to go that way.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, I guess this is like still early days with, I guess bettering the activity app on, is it activity or fitness? I can't remember what it's called now. Whatever fitness tracking app is called. Yeah, the fitness app. I think that it's definitely going to get better on iPhone, and it's going to get more accurate, of course, and it'll probably be able to track more by itself. But yeah, we'll see. Taylor, anything else you wanted to touch on, like the software or anything, or shall we just move on to the hardware and then move on to some questions?
Yeah, we can move on to hardware.
All right, awesome. So another thing that Apple announced, well, they announced 2 new MacBooks. The 13-inch MacBook Pro that makes absolutely no sense with the touch bar. That's got M2. It's basically the same computer from last year or the year before, but with M2. Nobody buy that because it's literally not great. But they did announce the MacBook Air, the new MacBook Air, the redesigned MacBook Air that we've been waiting for a while. It comes in 4 amazing colors. It comes in silver, I think space gray, gold, and midnight. The midnight looks really good. Like I think it's probably my favorite color for any Mac ever. Because it's like of course I'm not the biggest fan of midnight. I have a midnight Apple Watch and I hate it because it's like blue and it's not black, but still it's a step in the right direction. I love like just that color. It just looks stealthy and everything. And also another thing that I was really pleased about is the fact that yes, it has a notch, but I mean that was a given, but that the bezels are black and they're not white, because there were some rumors that were saying it was going to be white bezels.
Yeah,
but
I'm actually happy about that, I gotta say. But
yeah, but we've got basically new 1080p camera with an upgraded speaker system. Nice. Of course, 4 colors. It has Magsafe charging, so now you can charge your computer and have another 2 things plugged in at once, instead of having to charge and then have something else plugged in. There also are 2 USB-C ports, of course. Yeah, I just said it. And it also comes with up to 24 gigabytes of unified memory, which is kind of weird because normally you get 16 or 32 or 64 gigabytes. Normally it doubles, but they've just decided, oh yeah, let's just give them 24 gigabytes of unified memory instead.
It's like, all right. So
I've literally never seen like a storage option, like 24 gigabyte storage option. That's like never existed, at least that I've seen. They've normally always doubled, but that's good. It's still an improvement, and M2 is like a lot more powerful than the M1, not by a huge margin, but by enough that like people who don't have Apple Silicon right now definitely should consider this Mac. And also this is more expensive than the current MacBook Air, and it's like I think $100 more or $200 more.
Yeah, I'm honestly considering.
It looks like a great computer. I mean, I would buy it if I didn't need the more spec'd out MacBook Pro. But
yeah, to this day, I still regret not waiting and getting the Intel. But
yeah,
I mean, it works. It works for me, honestly. I didn't need the latest and greatest. I just needed something to work.
Yeah. And Jeff, were you able to see much about the new MacBook Air? Like or do you have any thoughts about it?
No, not at all. Actually, you're giving me all the news right now about it, because I heard that there was the new M2s, and I heard that there was a new MacBook Air, but that was it. Like I hadn't heard anything else about it. I didn't bother looking too much into it because I'm just not in the market for MacBooks myself.
Of course.
So it's just one of those things where I'm like, all right, cool. It's not in the cards for me just yet. But even then, but I still think it sounded pretty dope. And that was one of the consensus that I heard from a lot of people who were looking at the 2 MacBook options that were spoken about yesterday, was that the Air was the one that was really taking the cake. And even a couple of friends of mine who happened to be at the event, and they were like, yeah, this thing is going to be the one, and this and that. I'm like, oh, all right, cool. Sounds great. So it's just not for me, but it's going to be good for a lot of people. So it's nice to see that they finally came out with that. And it's nice to get them in those color options too. So
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think the color options are probably the best part of this. Because normally Macs come in like 2 to 3 color options, and
right.
that's it. I think there's probably I think it's just the MacBook that had 4, or I could be wrong, but anyway. And also another really nice touch is that the MagSafe charger, it matches the color of the MacBook, which I think was pretty nice. Which is something they didn't. I don't think they did with the MacBook Pros. I think both MacBook Pros, the space gray and the silver, have a silver charger, but I don't know. I have
Yeah.
the silver, so anyway. So I guess that's a bit of WWDC. It was a packed event for sure. A lot of stuff was announced, but still, as I said before, it wasn't as like amazing as I thought it would be. It was kind of underwhelming. But still some great improvements, some great features that were announced. And of course, there's a lot more that they talked about that we probably don't have time to get into today. But I guess now we can move on to a couple of questions. Taylor, do you want to start off? Unless Jeff, do you have anything else you would like to share about WWDC or anything else?
No. I'm still disappointed because we're still stuck waiting for the new AirPods. That's
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for those new AirPods Pro. So that's it. That's all. I was just waiting for that. I'm like, if you guys see that come across your, the news feed, let me know. And so some of the friends are like, yeah, no, nothing like that. I'm like, God. Because I had one of my buddies who was actually at the event, and he was just like, I was like, hey man, if you hear anything, you text me. And he texted me. He was like, yeah, nothing. I was like,
And that actually segues perfectly into the first question we have for you, Jeff, which is, what can Apple do to improve the current lineup of AirPods? Like whether that be like AirPods 3, how can they make it better, or AirPods Pro, or even AirPods Max? Assuming as you're the headphone guy, you're the headphone guru on YouTube. What do you think? What do you think?
I mean, I like where they're headed. Just ever since they really started investing much heavier into audio, and I mean, you can see the benefits of them, taking over Beats and stuff, because the Beats products have gotten way improved from what they were before to what they are now. But for me, I'm looking forward to the rumors around them changing up and getting away from Bluetooth and pushing past Bluetooth, because if they can be the first ones to push into a newer technology and sort of blaze that trail where everybody else is going to have to either abandon Bluetooth or find something better, I'm all for it. There's limitations, like not saying like we can get very, very good sound quality across Bluetooth, as many have heard. But to really get us to that, like what people call audiophile level or hi-fi level or any of that, it's going to have to be, we're going to have to get past it. We're going to have to go past Bluetooth. And I'm not talking about like Bluetooth 6.0. We're talking like ultra wideband or whatever it is that they're going to implement on that. But I'm looking forward to it because like I said, there's limitations to how much data you can push through a Bluetooth connection and still maintain, good latency and still maintain good connectivity and distance. People don't want to have to carry their phone around their house. They want to be able to have their headphones on and walk all over the house and not have any problems. But as soon as you start introducing something like, if I do this, like let's say with Android, if I use an LDAC, like LDAC codec, which is a higher res codec, if I use that on some headphones or earbuds, I can't go as far. I can't just leave my phone in my office and walk all over the house. As soon as I start putting like one wall in between us, or get past like 15, maybe 20 feet ish, forget it. It starts breaking up immediately. So there's just limitations there that we have to get past. And I think, from the rumors that I've read, is that Apple's working on something to get around those limitations, which I'm looking forward to it if they really are. And if that's going to be their next product, that's going to come with AirPods Pro or AirPods Max, 2 or whatever they're going to call them. Then I'm all for it, man. I'm looking forward to that.
That would honestly be amazing. Because I completely agree. Like Bluetooth, I think it's kind of like, it's been the standard for so long, and sometimes when something's a standard for so long, it kind of starts to, I don't know, it feels like there needs to be a change in something better that comes out to compete with it, or to then make it improve. Because I think Bluetooth is kind of like because it's the standard, it doesn't really have any competition. At least I'm
Right.
not really that familiar with that kind of stuff. And so like if they did have something like Apple comes out with their own type of Bluetooth or whatever that's better, then Bluetooth will be like, oh, we probably need to improve. And so they go ahead and improve it and stuff like that, which I think would be good.
Competition is necessary for the consumers to win. Like that's really what it comes down to. And I think it can stagnate when there isn't competition. Because why? They're going to be like, why are we going to invest a ton of money into bringing out something new every time when we can do iterative tiny updates? Like, you know, going from 5.0 to 5.1 to 5.2. And now we're barely starting to see 5.3 on some products. It's like, yeah. So hopefully we'll see some sort of competition there.
Yeah. And of course it's still like Bluetooth is still pretty decent. Like sound quality is getting a lot better and things like that. But I think it would be good if there was a couple of other fish in the water that could, for us to choose from.
Yeah.
But
I definitely agree. Next question that I want to ask you: what do you think the tech world will look like in like 5+ years from now?
I'd say mostly the same, to be honest. Like I think if anything, because unless, which I don't see it happening, but unless we saw some really game changing technology, you know, that would really unlock everything else that we've been fantasizing about, then I think we're sort of going to be stuck in limbo like we are now, because that's sort of where we are, right? We're limited by how we can power these devices. Yeah. And that's really what it comes down to. And at a certain point, if we can move past that, right? Like where whatever it might be, whether it's wireless power, whether it's batteries that now last weeks or months versus days, you know what I mean? Something where we can unlock it to the point where now it becomes a non-issue. Now battery life is a non-issue. Yeah. We can add all the features we want because we don't have to worry about efficiency. You know what I mean? The batteries are so efficient, doesn't matter what you need out of them. That would unlock a lot. Like you could do so much more with your wearables. It would be able to add so much. So unless we can get to something like that kind of a development, I think we're essentially going to be seeing just iterative step-by-step updates over the next 5 years. It's not going to be anything super groundbreaking, I would say. Not to be overly pessimistic, but I want to see something groundbreaking. I want to see something that's going to be a game changer, especially if it was like battery tech. Oh my Lord. Could you imagine? That would benefit society as a whole, not just like wearables or phones. Like it would go so far beyond that. Like it could go into medical technology. It can go into automotive, into aviation. It would go into so many different fields that would be actually game changing, and that would be dope. Like I'd love to see. I hope I'm alive when that happens. Is that's basically what I'm saying.
Right.
Do you think there's like a future for, I guess, foldables, like foldable phones?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean we're seeing it already with a lot of people. I think more than anything, it's accessibility. Because what I'm seeing now is like my friends who are getting them. Some of them are buying the latest and greatest, like Vivo and like all that stuff, but picking them up used so that they can get their hands on the tech and stuff. So we're seeing that, but I think accessibility is really where it is, and I'm glad to see prices somewhat coming down on some of the devices as they launch. So that's good, because what are we now, three generations in? 4?
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember where we're at, but we're somewhere around there. So so it's getting better. Like, I mean, the stuff I saw with the Vivo that a bunch of my friends just picked up, but they're foldable. That thing's a freaking monster. I'm like, holy crap. So, like real flagship performance. And if we start seeing that level, I'm excited for the people that need it. I don't have a foldable in my life. But it's one of those things for the people that need it and can use it. Like, hope more power to them. If anything, I like having options. You know what I mean? I like having the option. Like, do I want a clamshell, like that type of device? I feel like when I was going out, when I was at work, that would have been a much more convenient type of device to have on me than like something like an S22 Ultra. This is a big phone. Like when I carry it around, I'm like, good God, right? So something like a foldable version of that would be perfect. But yeah, I think there's definitely room for it. It's just, I don't think it's an either or question. I think it's nice to have these options on the market so that people can kind of choose what they want and spend at the price level that they want.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with that. Because not foldables aren't for everyone, of course. Like
Right.
for I guess people like me, for example, I don't really care about having a foldable. I'm okay with having like a tablet and an iPhone as well. Unless, if you're somebody who goes to work and stuff like that on the daily basis, and you just want a device that you can just open up and have a bigger screen, like just there and then, I think foldables are definitely good for that. And I could definitely see them like working side or like not working, I guess, being sold side by side with like standard phones right now.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And they are getting better as well. Like I think Samsung's foldables, I'm not really too big of a fan of, but there are a bunch of other companies like Vivo, I think, is doing some pretty good stuff with their foldables, and some other companies as well that are starting to come on the rise in terms of foldables. I think it's going to be interesting the next couple of years to see if they really do take off, and also to see how many of the trade-offs that you get now with a foldable start to go away, and like it starts becoming a device that you can actually buy and get the same performance, the same build quality, the same like durability that you would get on a standard I guess sandwich smartphone, as some people call it today.
Oh, dude, yeah. Could you imagine like if we didn't have the wearability and durability issues on foldables? Like that would be killer. Like that'd be amazing. So yeah, because I know like the folding screens have a lifespan. You know what I mean? And once we can get the technology past that, which I think with every generation these come out, it's getting better. I'm hearing less complaints from people about their foldables, which is great. So
same here.
Yeah, I would love to have that option where you could be like, you go to the store, you know, or even if it's Apple, let's say Apple ends up doing foldables or whatever, and you're like, yeah, I want an iPhone. Okay, what do you want? So do you want the Pro Max? Do you want a Pro Max foldable? You know, like what do you want? You know, so where you, if I could have that option, like just like I said, if I could have this S22 Ultra, but have it where it was clamshell, but when I open it up, it's an S22 Ultra, like that to me, that would be dope. So I would love that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. What do you think about AR? Do you think it's the future, or?
I mean, AR is cool. I've used it on multiple occasions. I use VR. My Oculus is sitting right there. We use it for our company meetings. But yeah, AR, I've used it a bit. I think it can be pretty cool in certain instances for certain things. But how to implement it is going to be the key. Like you can use it on your phone, stuff like that. I think it's really going to come in much more handy when we have the technology for more wearable glasses so that it can be in front of us. Like I don't have to pull out my phone and be like doing this stuff, where if I have my shades on, that I can have something like a heads up display come up. Like what you've seen with like Iron Man, for instance, like Tony Stark and his glasses.
I was
stuff
thinking
like that. Yeah. So like stuff like that would make more sense, where it overlay things, whether it's map directions or like imagine if you're driving somewhere and you can have, instead of your phone navigating, you can see like, okay, hey, your next stop, your next turn is here, like where you don't have to look away. You can keep your eyes on the road, like stuff like that. That's why I like heads up displays on cars, but to have that built into your shades or into your glasses, once we get to that point, that'll be pretty dope. But I think we have to get the technology to that place, and we're just not investing in it as much as we should, because we had, what was it, Focals by North that was doing that stuff, and listening to my buddy Juan Bagnell, like conversations with him around how good that was, but it just required so much personalization. I think that's probably what sort of did them in, but we're just not having enough buy-in from the public, and the technology just isn't quite there. But I really hope that we continue to invest in more wearable tech. Like I freaking love wearable technology. You know, it's funny. Most people don't know that I own probably like 8 or 9 smartwatches, in addition to, you know, a ton of headphones and earbuds, and you know, it's one of those things where I'm into it and I want to see it progress.
Yeah, and I think like with the rumors and stuff that we've been seeing with Apple kind of wanting to enter the AR space, I think they're really going to start to move the market forward in terms of that. Simply because whenever Apple does something, other companies start to follow. At least that's what I've seen. And so I think like if they actually do, like there's been rumors that they're going to be announcing it either later on this year or next year, their version of, or mixed reality glasses to start off with, which are kind of just going to be like a mix of AR and VR. I think that is really going to start to move the market towards AR, because I think it would be sick. Like in the future, the only device we would need is just a pair of glasses, and that's everything. You've got your phone, you've got your TV, you've got your smart home, like controls. Everything is just there in front of you, and you don't have to lift anything up. You just use voice commands or like touch the air or whatever. Like the future of AR as I see it, I think is like Iron Man, to be honest. Just like having all those screens around and being able to talk to Siri or whatever we'll have in like 5 or 10 years, whenever AR starts to really be the standard. I think it would be
a cool concept that I saw really was somebody fantasizing about it, and I forgot what the video was, but they were fantasizing about how they could get away from smartphones by using wearables, and it was a combination of smart glasses with a smartwatch. But the way that he showed, like, he's like, oh yeah, and for people who still miss the interface of a phone, he had like done like this with his wrist, and then essentially an AR phone appeared in front of him, and then he could interact with it like you could dial a number or you can scroll through Twitter. I was like, that is dope. Like, you would look weird. Like, imagine me just doing this because you can't see what I'm seeing, but it would appear almost like a hologram if you wanted to see it without glasses, or it would just appear in your shades, but you would interact with it as if, you know, a virtual version of this just appeared floating above your wrist. Like, to me, I was like, that's cool. Like, I was thinking in my head, I'm like, whoever just thought that up, I'm like, yeah, that's a dope idea. So, but basically what he was saying, so that all you have to do is you have your shades, your smart glasses, and you have your watch. And that's what's going to be powering your whole like mobile experience. And I was like, yeah, like if you want to watch a video, you could have it boop appear inside your shades, you know, stuff like that. And I was like, all right, so I think that would be cool.
Exactly. And I think in the world that we live in today, I think a lot of the world is kind of going more towards, like, a lot of people are connected to their phones all the time. Like, you see it on the street, you see it in the mall, you see it in the store. People are just on their phones constantly. They're kind of disconnected from the world. And I don't know exactly how if AR is really gonna help, like, I guess make us connect more with the world around us, because then we won't always be looking down at one screen. We'll still be able to see what's going on around us, but we'll still have other things that are going on. So I think it's going to be cool to see if it helps us be more disconnected from technology, but more connected with the world, or the other way around. I think that's something that would be cool to see.
No, I agree.
But anyway, moving on to our next question. What do you think is something that, talking more about Apple, what do you think is something that Apple can improve on overall as a company, do you think? Like, let's say you were to be made Apple's CEO tomorrow. What's the first thing you would change?
Trying to think. Now, I don't have too much crazy experience with them because I haven't had to use, like, you know, a lot of their customer service and like things of that nature. I haven't had to do a bunch of that, thankfully. So far, I've been pretty lucky with that stuff. So I don't know, you know, trying to think of what I would change immediately. Yeah, that's kind of a tough one because I don't have a lot of gripes with what they do personally, but it's just something I haven't thought about too much. So it's tough for me to answer on the spot. But yeah, I'm just trying to think it over for a sec. But yeah.
So maybe to make the question a little bit easier, what's a company that you would choose to be CEO of if you got given the opportunity? What will be the company, and what would you change in that company, I guess? In terms of tech.
I mean, if anything, in terms of tech, I would well, let's see. One of them would be Google, and the only thing I would do was tell them not to quit projects so quickly. Like, I get the efficiency thing, but it's one of those things where I would want them to kind of let things kind of live out and take shape and go. And I get that, you know. So that would probably be one of them. I think the other gripe would be doing everybody a favor, doing the whole tech world a favor, and you know, if I took over Sony and I would just have them name things, not part number designations for products.
WX1000 XD1.
Yeah, it's like, I know they're kind of moving in that direction now because they've gone with like link buds and like stuff like that. So they're sort of changing things, but it's just one of those things where it's like, bro, come on, let's move, let's get with the times here. But yeah, that's just one of those. It's just one of those things, man. Kind of get with that, and or the other thing, actually, secondarily with Sony, I would stop announcing phones 6 months before they're available. So, because by the time they come out, people forgot about it.
Yeah,
so that's the other thing.
That's kind of what I'm scared with Google right now. After having like released teased the Pixel 7, and then with the Pixel 6a, which still comes out like in a
And
like
the
next
Pixel
month or whatever.
Watch.
They've got the Pixel Watch as well that they didn't even say like when it's going to be released. So I wonder if it's going to cannibalize their sales by doing that, or if it's going to make things better. I guess it helps them control leaks a bit more. So then people don't go into an event with like super high expectations and then they just under deliver from what they expect. Yeah. It's an interesting world, the world of tech that we're all in.
Yeah. What's one product or service that you'd like to see in the future?
I would probably say, if we could keep it in the context of wearables, and I think they're probably actively working on this. Somebody's got to be actively working on this. Would be to have more medical versions of the watch bands for the Apple Watch. So something specific to where you can get, whether it's blood glucose, whether it's actual blood pressure or things of that nature. Even if they allow third parties, to be like, hey, listen, we have this watch band that can do glucose, which is incredibly difficult to do without sticking you. So, but if let's say they got with somebody like, I forget what that company is that does it. My buddy has it where it's basically a thing on his arm. But yeah, it's like one of those things where you can check your blood sugar at any time with your phone. Like if that was integrated into a watch band on the watch, like that'd be an amazing feature. So I think for anything, because there's so many people who are either diabetic or hypoglycemic, imagine having that kind of a warning where it pops up on your watch. And it's like, hey, your blood sugar is getting dangerously low. Like you should probably eat something or take a glucose tablet or whatever, or it's dangerously high. Like, hey, you need to do something like, take some insulin or whatever. But having that ability to kind of warn people could be another feature, like what they've done with the heart or what they've done with like people falling.
Yeah.
So I'm sure somebody's working on it, but it's just getting past that. Having to jab people is very difficult.
Yeah, I think the best way for Apple to do it would be through their watch bands. Because I mean, we're even seeing companies like, for example, Wristcam. They've got like, you basically add a camera to your Apple Watch, which I think is very creative, very cool. And the way that they're doing it is a bit different from what some people might think, because when they think, oh, let's add a camera to the Apple Watch, and they just add it on the Apple Watch itself, but you probably get a better angle by having it on the watch band and things like that. And it would be cool, to see a lot more companies start to work on kind of like watch bands that work for health, like with glucose, and I'm sure there's other like different health things that we can do with our wearables, and just to make, I guess, the world an easier place to live in, especially if you're someone who has health problems or disabilities and things like that. Wearables can definitely make a lot of things easier. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, because there's tech that's specific. Like there's wearable tech that I've been experienced myself in the past couple of years that I'm like, this should be built into a watch. Like this should be built into something else that can do this. I know sometimes it's about miniaturization and things of that nature, but it's just one of those things where I'm like, I think they could do it. If anybody could, Apple could. And that's hopefully what I'm looking forward to. But because to me, it almost seems like the band itself is sort of like wasted real estate, where if we could find a way of integrating tech into that without making it super bulky, like we've seen those watches that have a screen that go all the way around, but it's not flexible. So, if there was a way we can make it flexible so we can take advantage of the real estate that exists there, I think that would be pretty awesome. But like I said, we're just not there with the tech yet, but I think we will be there at some point.
Yeah, I think you bring up a pretty good point that, like watch bands, literally all they do is just keep the watch up onto your wrist, and they could be used for so much more. And we're seeing companies like, as I said, mentioned before, Wristcam, adding a camera to the watch by using the watch band. And like, they don't necessarily have to be things that plug into the watch itself. They can just work via Bluetooth or things like that, similar technologies. And I think, it would be cool to see the next couple of years if companies start to do more of that, and maybe even Apple themselves, because they've been talking about glucose like tracking for years on the app for the Apple Watch now. and there's only so many health sensors that they can throw into this little thing. Like we've already got ECGs, we've already got blood oxygen and stuff like that, and it's kind of like, what's next? It'll be interesting to see.
We can take it a little bit further if they can, but it's just one of those things where I'd love to see it, even if you had to choose, you know what I mean? But because some of them just can't all be done by one, but I'd like to see either some choice, but just forward movement. I think they are, like, because if they introduce, let's say theoretically, that the next time, whenever we get like a Series 8 or something like that, and it comes down that like, Series 8, with real-time glucose monitoring, minds would be blown. Like that would sell out so quickly. People that don't even have an iPhone would go and get an iPhone so they could use that watch. Like I'm telling you, it would blow up. So I'm sure somebody's working on it, because if they could have the phone and the watch for like millions of diabetics just in this country alone, good God.
But Jeff, do you have any questions for me or Taylor before we wrap today's episode up?
No, not necessarily, man. I just, just if anything, I just hope you guys keep getting some killer guest spots on here. I saw you guys had Jacqueline on here, and she is freaking amazing. And Viper Taylosive, a lot of the guests have been coming on, have been incredible. More power to the podcast. You guys got to keep it going. But aside from that, man, I like what you guys are doing, man. Holding good conversations and just stay consistent with it, man. That's really what it comes down to. It's tough because you guys are working on two people's schedules, but man, just definitely keep it going, man.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's been great having you on today, Jeff. Like we loved a lot of the insights that you shared, a lot of the different opinions that you have as well. We really enjoyed it, and we hope that maybe someday we'll have you on again at some point in the future. For those who are listening or watching, if you want to follow El Jefe, all of the links will be in the description below, as well as mine and Taylor's social medias and everything. And also we will link one of the WWDC recaps that we will choose. We'll link that in the description below for those who missed the event. And also check out mine and Taylor's channel, because we did a bit of coverage on it as well. So make sure you go check that out, guys. But that's about it for... Oh, yeah, more to come for sure. And that's about it for this episode of the Tech Unlocked podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. This was episode 36, and we will catch you guys next week.